What's going on, everyone? Zav here, and we're just going to bring you a quick review of the Elyon AMA that happened earlier this morning. For those of you that don't want to have to go through and read all of the Reddit thread and you'd like the opportunity to just listen to it in the background, that's what this video is for. It's for you. So we're going to do that. But there are two things I want to talk about. First is if you have not signed up for the Elyon beta, you can still do so. Be sure to go to the website. You're just going to hit the sign up now, put in your information. It's going to ask you 4 questions. You're going to submit that, and once you're done, it'll let you know right up here in the corner that you were applied for closed beta. And the second thing is that there was one question on the AMA that was just way too exciting to me that we have to answer first and talk about first, and that is that Slayer is confirmed to come with the release of NA and EU release. That's right. So for those of you that were a little just downtrodden and disheartened that, you weren't going to have it for a couple weeks or a couple months following release, well, you're going to have it now. So Slayer is coming. In fact, we're going to have it as early as CBT2. So we're going to get to try it out during beta phasing before it even goes into the live version of the game. So that's really exciting stuff, and I'm excited for it because Slayer was something that I was really interested in playing myself. Now, moving on, let's get into this AMA and get into all the questions. All right, we're going to try to go through this as quickly as we can for you guys without missing anything. There'll be a couple double down questions, but we'll skip those ones when we see them. All right, so the first thing that was up is, what is the maximum number of players supported for PvE and PvP content? The max capacity game mode is going to be a 100v100 battle, so a total of 200 participants. And then for PvE, they currently only have a 5-player instance dungeon event. However, when it comes to open world content, there are certain things where you can have up to 50 players playing together or form together to conquer content in the form of, open world bosses and that sort of thing. How many servers per region are planned? Are there any different rule sets between servers? They currently have not decided yet. However, there are going to be multiple servers. They're not planning one giga server, so there will be multiple servers like there are with a lot of MMOs on their launches. And there's not going to be any different sort of rule sets for them, like, PvP or PvE. They're all going to be under the same rule set. If you had to pick one thing that we should look forward to with endgame gameplay, what would it be? You can look forward to the wars between each realm in the dimensional portal, where you battle over defeating bosses. In addition, there's also a PvP battle between servers where you can fight to become the ultimate PvP player. So for those of you that don't know, there is a PvP event that occurs where you will actually go into an instance and you will compete against another server group. So let's say there's server 1, server 2, server 3, server 4, server 5, etc. You will go into an instance, and the winning group from each of their respective servers will enter that instance area, and you will now compete against one another to come out as the top server amongst the server groups. So, all those things where people talk about, oh, XYZ server is the best server, or XYZ server is the #1 server. Well, you can actually have that now in this game, rather than having it just be a, Reddit thread bashing back and forth about who's better. So we'll see how that shapes up. Apparently there was a question about whether or not exotic roleplay is going to be allowed. However, you bet it is, sweetheart, according to them. So, all right, we got Moonguard 2.0 rolling onto Elyon. So for those of you that are into that, there you go. Can I finally move on from Terra? We sure hope so, and we're looking forward to seeing you play Elyon. So it seems like they have every intention of mind of this being able to be the next game that Terra players are willing to move on to, since Terra has stagnated over the years, and so hopefully this will be something that will fill the void for those people. Will PvP be open world? Is there a possibility of PKing while questing, grinding, and farming, etc.? There will be both a PvP, which takes place in the open world, and also PvP that takes place in an instance location. While PK is possible in the field, they're limiting the areas in which essential gameplay occurs so that it's not stressful for essential gameplay areas. So I'm assuming this means that they're going to have certain areas that have necessary events or questing or something that takes place that people maybe would have to do on a daily basis, and they're restricting PK in those zones so as to not make it a time stress situation with people being PK'd there or having it take too much time because of that. So we'll see what exactly those zones end up being. What will be different between KR's Cash Shop and NA's? What patch do you plan on releasing on the day of launch? Is there any rough idea on how much the most expensive pre-order pack will be, given if there is one? Where will the servers be located? And as we know, some classes are heavily reliant on ping, and this would give us some insight in us figuring out what class to play. During launch, there will be things time-gated, given an opportunity to level. So this was a multi-question one, and this was a big one. They actually did answer all of it, and some of them are really important to know. First off is that the EU and NA cash shop and business model is going to be different from the Korean one. However, we don't know to what degree yet. It's still a bit early to say which patch they're going to release on, but they intend to be as close to the Korean build as possible. And I think that's showing with the fact that we're going to have Slayer on release. So that's really exciting to know as well. The server locations. All right, guys. All right, this is gonna be a bummer for some of you. Okay, so for those of you in EU, the servers are gonna be located in Amsterdam. For those of you in NA, the servers are in California. So yeah, so for all of you on the East Coast, you're gonna have a little bit more of a ping issue versus those on the West Coast. West Coast people, they get really nice ping for this game. East Coasters, you know, if you can make ping work for you, great. If you're somebody who needs, you know, to play something that isn't so ping reliant, I'm not sure which classes specifically are ping reliant. I could imagine, though, something like Assassin might be, but we'll just have to see. Although I imagine most will be, given the way evasive mechanics work in the game. However, hopefully it won't be too bad. But we'll just have to see how it shapes up on the beta. I will be playing from the East Coast, so if you want to know what East Coast ping is like, be sure to drop by our streams during the beta, and we'll let you know how it's going for us. And then the last one is during the launch, the time gating thing. It's undecided at the moment, but depending on the content, there will be some restrictions. For example, they're considering starting the Realm vs. Realm Wars at a later date so that everyone can level up and reach a sustainable gear level. That way, you know, there's not some massive gear disparity versus people who just, you know life the game at the, the first 2 weeks of it. So we'll see how that goes as well. Low ping is a very big important thing for them. This is another one people asked about, the ping again. NA servers located California, E1's Amsterdam. Let's see here. Is Elyon buy to play? Is there a pricing structure available for it? Elyon is going to be buy to play with in-game purchases. This is going to be, that's the big thing most people are going to be worried about. We are working to adapt the many areas of Elyon for the Western audience. We all know what that means. People are going to be really on top of them about pay to win, and there's a pretty big question in there later on that I know some people are going to have some concerns with that we'll talk about. Let's see. I'm glad to be able to support the project through a buy-to-play business model, but will there be services or items that we can purchase in-game to speed up the progress of our character or gain exclusive advantages over other players? Will BDO players obtain any exclusive badge or mount items given Cacao being the same publisher? Different games. How many players do you plan on inviting through the planned CBT next month, and what is your performance expectations given the current engine? At the present time, the full details on the cash shop are not yet decided, and we're therefore not able to share our plans given just yet. No, we don't plan on giving exclusive rewards to owners of Black Desert Online, because first of all, Cacao doesn't even publish them anymore. While I can't share the exact number, it's quite a limited amount of invites we'll be sending after reviewing players' CBT1 applications. Our goal is to focus on gathering feedback about the game mechanics. A larger scale stress-based test is planned for later. And the last question for the performance is that'll be followed up later on. After developing the popular action combat MMO Terra, what have you all learned from the years of experience in that title that you hope to showcase and expand on in Elyon? The non-targeting combat in Terra was great, but it was also a barrier to entry due to being inconvenient and difficult. Elyon brings in the strengths of non-targeting combat systems from Terra, but then resolves the inconvenience and difficulty that was apparent in Terra. Also, there was a predetermined way in which combat could play out for everyone in Terra, but Elyon shifts and expands towards an individualized combat experience. And so what they mean by that is that there is, they have multiple systems in place with the game that alter the way your class plays or your abilities function, and everybody could have a different format for their abilities. Not everybody's going to be running the exact same skill set per se. A lot of people will be, because that's how people metagame, but there will definitely be some people who try to do more unique things and change things up. There are currently no plans for any oceanic servers. For those of you who are wondering, that was a question. There are no oceanic servers planned at the moment. They do not have an estimated time specifically for a release date. However, they are still planning for the second half of 2021. Are there any more plans for complex PvE related content, such as larger raids in the future? At the current moment, people seem to say there aren't really any difficult raids, so I was wondering if that could change in the future to introduce high-level PvE content, such as mythic-level raids that can be challenging for players to complete. At the moment, there are none that exist. However, we are looking into that in a positive light. However, when considering content with a high difficulty level, we are thinking of ways in which more players can enjoy themselves rather than a small group of players. And so I guess part of that is, when you have something that is, mythic formed content, and say that's where there's better gear coming from it, it does create a sense of disparity for people. Obviously, because not everybody's like a mythic quality player. Granted, WoW, if we want to use WoW as an example, WoW does have other methods for you to be able to achieve gear of that similar value. But I don't think there is anything like that with Elyon. But Elyon has a very different gearing system from something like WoW, so I don't even know how that would work. But we'll just see what they do in the future. People have been asking about overall leveling experience. Do you think that there will be a quality balance between new players and experienced? In other MMORPGs, we have always had a huge issue between these two. Should we expect this to be the same with Elyon? Well, naturally, when people know how to do something ahead of time of others, they're going to be able to be more efficient at it. But while you continue to level up, everyone will eventually be at a similar point in the game. However, we expect there to be a gap between new players and experienced players in terms of the various skill customizations and the know-how to growth methods for characters. Right? And that just, that just makes sense. That applies for any game. That's not exclusive to Elyon. That's an every game type of thing, right? Are you considering to return airships, mechs, and automatons in the game with the interface of their crafting and tuning? We're aware of the positive community feedback regarding the original air combat mechanics for Elyon. Although we haven't discussed this in depth, we may have plans on this for the future. So that would be pretty interesting to see make its way back into the game. Ooh, here's a big one. Will the Western version of the game feature the gear shop and gear to gold exchange? If so, would it be substantial differences between what's in store? Similar to the cash shop business model, the gear shop is something that we're reviewing and cannot share more concrete information presently. So this is going to be one of those things that, when we get into beta, these are going to be things that people need to look at, review, give feedback on, and be consistent with their feedback on, united on their feedback on. Because obviously, if people go into the beta and feedback's 50-50, at that point, it's just up to them. I mean, ultimately, it's always going to be up to them. But if there's a very clear, resounding, one-sided view on it, I think they would feel more inclined to go with that. Will the balance trajectory for PvP follow KR's footsteps? Or will balance patches be adjusted as if they are seen in massive negatives in KR? Class balance is something the developers are continuously working on, and feedback from EUNA will also play a role in how the balancing evolves. Okay. Question from my stream. In reference to the Luminous system, will it be exactly the same as KR, or will it be more laxed? For example, being able to obtain it through some form of progression, maybe other than large sums of gold and RMT, real money transactions. Saw a question about customer support and gold buyer sellers. The standards we have set. Oh, that question was not answered. I wish they had answered that one. That would have been an important one. Saw a question about customer support and gold buyers and sellers. The standards we have set for customer support have always been high. We plan to continue that with Elyon, RMT, and third-party software will be a severe violation of the terms of use. So you know, like every game, gold buying and selling, RMT, all that stuff, not allowed. Skins TOS, how well it's enforced, we'll see. From what I was told was that Kakao did a pretty good job in BDO with it. So we will see how that plays out with Elyon in the Western region. Will Korean voiceovers be available in the Western release? No, it will not. What does the monetization look like? Purely cosmetic stuff, or is there more to it? That one we already went over. It's the same answer. They're working on revising it. What is your favorite unique aspect of Elyon? What are you as developers, producers, PMs, and CMs excited to do in the game that differs from what other games bring to the table? This is assuming, of course, that you guys plan on playing along with us. Also, is there any partially developed areas, monsters, bosses, dungeons, characters, classes, quest chains, or the like that you got scrapped, so it's cut from production, that you wish had made it into the game and can tell us a bit about it? Okay. The CM team, we are really looking forward to creating fun events for the community and play/experiment with endless skill combinations with you all. Personally, I'm really looking forward to seeing which guilds rise to the top and the politics that we will see with the competitive nature of the game. Yes, I'm sure everybody's looking forward to that. Developers, we think that in various ways in which you can nurture your character, such as through skill customizations, make Elyon unique. Rather than simply changing your skills, you can determine the direction in which you want to take your character, and you can then accordingly select which hunting grounds you want to explore. Interesting. Will each class be available in different genders, or will each class be gender limited? Will we have access to flying mounts? Will guilds have a guild hall? And will we be able to fish in the game? Haha. The most important question, of course. There are no gender restrictions on any of the classes. That is a huge one, I know, for a lot of people with Eastern MMOs. There are usually tend to be some sort of gender or race restrictions. There are not any in this game. That's a huge one, especially with, for those of you that played Terra in the past, there was a huge restriction on a large variety of classes, and it happened to be the Lolly Ellen class that most of them were locked to, and people were not happy about that. So fortunately, nothing like that this time around. There are no individual flying mounts, but there will be airship content in which many players can board together. There are no guild halls in the game. Yes, there's a fishing system. There's also a mini game you can play through the fishing content, and you can create potions for combat through fish you catch from fishing. There's also material that you can only obtain through fishing, from which you can craft gear for yourself or to sell to other players. So it sounds like fishing is actually a nice little system that they have built into the game. Oh, here we go. This is a big one. This was a big one. How does the cash shop look today, and what is planned for the future? I know many are very interested in this topic. Korean ratings show this game with less than average score. What are your plans to improve the perception of the gameplay in NA, as most games follow the trend popularity from KR to NA? Much of the feedback from players expressed this was a highly grinding game, many hours of repetitive tasks with minimal overall progression, more so than BDO. Can you confirm or elaborate on this sentiment? Okay, here we go. In the beginning of the service, you'll most likely see the classic MMORPG cash shop items. Some of them are pets to help, so loot pets, and give you miscellaneous life, give you small miscellaneous or life buffs. Outfits, we have not yet decided whether special bonuses will be given or not. That's going to be a big one for people. Warehouse and inventory slot expansions. Nope. People are already going to call the game pay to win. People are already going to call it just for that alone. People are going to complain about it. People are going to say, no, this can't be on there. This isn't fair. So, I mean, that's something they're already going to get a lot of backlash for. I mean, I remember from ArcAge, people lashed out about die tickets being pay to win. And the inventory expansion was a huge one for people as well, for whatever reason. But yeah, so that's going to be stuff. Premium buffs like a value pack. That'll be another one. People, so aka, you know, people are going to be, we'll see how vocal people get about these. For your standard BDOer, probably a little more par for the course to them, but for your general Western audience, those are already for them. Those are like red flags already. We'll see how that goes with the feedback. You'll be able to try all of the aforementioned items during CBT1, and we're looking forward to the feedback. So we'll get to see what exactly all those things do consist of and how impactful they are, and we'll see what kind of feedback people give on it. The Korean and Western audiences understandably have their differences when it comes to MMORPGs, but I believe all MMO lovers, regardless of their locale, more or less agree on what makes a game fun. We continuously read and monitor the feedback you guys share of the community platforms and with the developers taking meaningful changes to Elyon, not only for EU and NA, but at the game itself. Last one is, nope, that's not true. We continue to update the game while avoiding aspects which would make it too grindy for the players. The version you will get to play will be a much more comfortable environment to play in. So they did make some, recently in the game, they did make some nerfs to certain forms of content that originally did require a lot more grinding, and they nerfed them by quite a bit to make it not require as much time in order to achieve the final product of that grind process. So we'll get an opportunity to see that come CBT. Same cash shop question. They already answered that one. For me, one of the most enjoyable aspects of MMORPG is cooperative play. However, sometimes it is necessarily for solo play. How easy, difficult is solo play for leveling and quest storyline progression? Is co-op play essential for these aspects? You can progress through the game more easily through cooperative play, but it is also possible to play solo and customizing your skills and making your character stronger. So this way, it shouldn't be too difficult. Which season of Sephirot are you considering to start with at the release of the game, or does it depend solely on the actual time of the year? So for those who don't know, Sephirot is a separate tree system in the game that impacts the way your character plays, and that has its own XP grind. That's one of those things we just talked about that they nerfed recently in terms of the amount of XP required to level it up. And so they actually function on a seasonal system, and that is where one of the balancing issues does come into play with the game, is that this Sephirot system changes the way your character can function every single season that the Sephirot tree happens. So we'll see. They do not know which one specifically. However, they are planning to release with the closest version of the one being serviced in Korea as possible. The Mana Awakening season will depend on the final build that the EU NA service will launch with, which is yet to be decided. Does the game reward exploration? For example, like Guild Wars 2 had hidden jump puzzles, platforming to get chests, and other things of that sort? No, not at the moment. You have any plans on teaming up with Western content creators, or at least have some kind of partner program? Absolutely. Content creators of all kinds are the lifeblood of an MMO. It is too early for an official partner program, but it will come. IP block. Any country outside of our service territory will have an IP block. But you will be able to, most likely, as there are with most things, probably get around it with a VPN, but that's just up to you on if you want to go through that risky process on whether or not you get banned. What is the planned payment model, and will there be a free trial? Elyon will not launch with a free trial, although they may visit it later down the line as an idea. Is crafting available in the game? Does it tie into the economy? Yes, there's a crafting system. You can sell crafted items to other players, and you can earn gold through crafting system. This way, you can see that it does indeed tie in with the economy. And this is true. You can craft breakthrough gear. Breakthrough gear is basically your end goal gear for 3 gear slots pieces. So you can actually craft breakthrough gear if you go through the painful process of getting to that point. I've been told it's a very expensive process. And some people don't find it worth it, but I know there will be some people who are willing to do it. But breakthrough gear will always be needed, because breakthrough gear is a type of gear that breaks when you fail to enhance it, and so then you have to get a new one. So people will definitely always be looking for breakthrough gear in that regard. Russia and the CIS countries are not in our service territory. All right. How many NA servers will there be? We'll review the feedback from the closed beta test and proceed accordingly. Nonetheless, major changes to the infrastructure are not planned at the moment. So this was somebody asking about the servers and if there will be any chance of them, making a central or East Coast server. However, at the moment, they do not plan to change the infrastructure, which is unfortunate for those of us on the East Coast. you know, we would have liked that. Is there any form of PvP ranking system that players can compete in, a ladder to climb perhaps? What are the PvP rewards like worthwhile? There's a PvP ranking system based on skills, and there will be rewards. You can obtain top tier gear through PvP, and there is also transformation effects that provide very powerful effects as rewards for ranked players, although it is momentary. Depending on your location, the game will be cost based on either your euros or USD. That is not changing, it looks like. Any new race or class in the work planned that you can share some info on besides Slayer being in CBT2, so they do confirm it. There is no news on a new class or race at the moment. How would you describe the blend between story, PvP, and PvE? The dimensional portal is the key to the way the game story blends into the PvP and PvE content. PvP and PvE coexist within the dimensional portal. So the dimensional portal is like this instanced area that you go into that has these PvE activities that you partake in, but there is PKing going on inside of it, and it's for the most part a free-for-all a lot of the time. So we'll have to see what that ends up being like. On what platforms will it be available? This is people asking for console. Is going to be on PC. Will not be on console. Let's see. Do pets provide a stat boost? Yes. So it's not like they said earlier, it's not like a stat boost. It's going to be things like miscellaneous and life scaling boosts, as well as being like inventory loot, you know, auto looting. So we'll see how that plays out overall. Let's see, what else do we have here? A lot of repeat questions now. A lot of these are questions that were already answered. There's another one about C. There's just also a lot of questions that they just didn't answer. So we're not going through those at the moment. It looks like that is it for them. They just didn't respond to any other questions. There's not going to be an Oceanic server. So yeah, so that wraps up pretty much the primary meat of the AMA. There was a lot of repeat information in there that we already knew from the FAQ that they did earlier in the week, but there was also some new things in there as well. One of those being that Slayer is available, as well as a little bit of an insight as to what to expect on the cash shop. So we're going to have to really see come beta how these things shape up, and people are really going to need to give their feedback on the game so that we can shape it as best as we can to what the Western audience will accept before it comes out. But yeah, that's all there is for now. Thank you guys so much for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video, and you can find us live on Twitch at twitch.tv/zav_. And we look forward to streaming Elyon and many other games that are on the way. You guys, thanks for watching and have a good one. Peace.